So have a look at the cover. There are 4 pee marks. Only one guy peed. Do you know who it was? Yeah. Teenage Wasteland.
Teenage Wasteland. That song. I couldn't believe it wasn't called Teenage Wasteland.
It used to be. On the demos, it was.
Of course, it had to be.
Yeah.
Had to be.
I used to think it was called Teenage Wasteland.
Oh, good. Good. Okay, so I did too. Before I ever discovered what it was actually called. So I'm glad to hear you made the fatal mistake.
Well, when I was really young, I did. I think that I think there are still people who think that it's called Teenage Wasteland, and
totally
not Bob O'Reilly. Yeah.
We just kind of jumped into it there, but we're here to talk about who's next.
That's right. By far, according to me, the Who's best record, really, by a long shot.
Who's best record?
Yeah. What do you? I was just waiting for you to make that joke. I knew that you were going to do it at some point.
The band on stage. Who? The band on stage, Aunt Slappy. You ever watch Animaniacs? It doesn't matter. Yeah. I've never listened to anything by The Who.
Oh. Now, what did you had to know something by The Who?
Of course. I knew Bubba O'Reilly.
Okay.
I knew Won't Get Fooled Again.
Okay.
And I knew Behind Blue Eyes thanks to Fred Durst.
Ugh. Now, did you know all 3 of those songs were from the same record?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So cool to see them all on the same record, but boy, I mean, I can't say this album is underrated because but in my opinion, why do I always say that? I can't believe that I don't.
Of course, it's your opinion.
Of course, it's my opinion. It's the dumbest thing I can say. Aside from what I said about Bowie, it's still the same guy.
Still the same guy.
Dumbest thing. It's funny because I edit these things, right? And I'm like, fine, I'll leave it in. I can't believe I didn't know more songs from this album.
So Bargain is another one.
Yeah.
That people, if you see the word bargain, and again, probably people think that the song is called The Best I Ever Had, because that's in essence the part of the chorus that jumps out. That's another one though. It's not necessarily a greatest hit per se, but it's that that melody, and when you hear The Best I Ever Had, that.
I know it's been recognized as The Who's best album. Again, I don't know any of their other albums, but I am I loved this from top to bottom because of so much that I didn't know about. So when they when the songs came on, I was like, how do I not know about these songs? How do I only know Bob O'Reilly and Won't Get Fooled Again and make Behind Blue Eyes? But yeah, so that's overall my verdict is I can't believe I never knew more of these incredible songs.
So quite honestly, I blew it on the Bowie stuff, right? Because I thought that you would, like one of the records and hate. I had it completely backwards. Right?
Got it.
I knew in my heart of hearts that you were going to say what you just said about this record. And that's one of the reasons why I picked it, because this is a fantastic rock and roll record. It's one of the best. I've never been a massive Who fan, but I'm a massive fan of this record. Yeah,
for sure. I feel like, and maybe I shouldn't have said underrated because again, what do I know? Unassuming. I'd always heard of the album, but I'm just I never knew more songs off of it. It just was, again, unassuming because then these songs come in and I'm these are all of these songs are classics.
I'm so glad that you love this because it's such a it's a back to front. You can just let this record play all the way through.
Oh man, and I actually played like the bonus. There's a deluxe edition and a bonus edition on Apple, and I just played the bonus edition, and that had like a live version of Water. It had some record plant recordings of Pure and Easy, Behind Blue Eyes, and like it's just like even through those, I put it on so many times.
It's pretty funny because they recorded, I think, what is it? Is there 9 tunes on this album? I think. And I think they recorded like 15 or 16 songs. And the ones that didn't make it onto the record, for some reason, they didn't hold them over to the next record. They released them as singles later on, like during this promotion cycle. Just kind of odd.
Yeah.
And then they showed up later on like compilation records.
Got it. Well, because I saw Pure and Easy was on like a later album. I don't know if it was just a compilation.
Odds and Sods,
yeah, that one. Yeah. It's so. I mean, we can go through them. I feel like it's just going to be like great. But I guess the whole like kind of interesting idea behind this album is like the conception of it, right? Because of where it initially started. Kind of went through this sort of like dramatic phase of maybe never happening and the band potentially breaking up, and then out comes Who's Next following all of this.
There was a rock opera, I believe this followed Tommy, and it was almost a continuation of Tommy. The rock opera was to be called Lifehouse, and it never came to fruition because I think that Pete Townsend had a falling out with the album's producer, and there was so much tension because Townsend was a perfectionist and wanted it a certain way, and everybody was just like, at their wits' end. And Daltrey said the band almost broke up. The whole thing was scuttled, and they walked away from it thinking, what a waste of time. But then Glyn Johns, who was fresh off working with the Beatles, said, I will help you with this. And he was the engineer, but really the producer of the record. And he came in and started working on the songs. And he said, let's just kind of put a record out with the songs that are left over. And I think there's 9 tunes on this record. 8 of them are from the Lifehouse project. I don't know what the 9th one is.
I think My Wife by Ant Whistle is the
oh, that's right.
The odd one out.
Yeah, good call. He wrote that himself. Ant Whistle did. So Glyn Johns impressed the band so much, apparently, that they said, you can release any of these songs on Who's Next, and you can put them in whatever order you think they should go in. Like, imagine.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. It's a crazy
autonomy, just go ahead. Yeah.
But he impressed them so much with his, he did 2 things. He was always focused on the sound, and he was focused on the level of performance. And so apparently Keith Moon is, as you know, he's a bit of a nutcase, and he plays like one. And Glyn Johns said, no more flamboyance. We're looking for performances. And so Moon had to kind of tailor his playing style a little bit. And you can hear that in some of these songs.
Keith Moon, it to me was like butter, man. Like whether it's through the recording or his playing, but just the way that he drummed through his parts on these songs, it just felt like effortless. Like I don't know much about the guy again, other than he was like a bit of a wild stallion, I guess.
More than a bit.
But I loved listening to every piece of his drumming through these songs, and then even Ant Whistle like on bass is like insane. The type of like it's not just like just bass lines, right? It's like it's bass lines. You know what I mean? Yeah. See how I said that differently? It's not bass lines, it's bass lines, right? Yeah. Because when you watch them live, I was watching them live, and like I didn't like he's going nuts. Like it's just it's so crazy to see. And then obviously Townsend on guitar is like this is like I'm pretty blown away by this band. Like everything that I was listening to and hearing, because even Daltrey, man, I was listening to him like I love this guy's voice maybe more than anybody's voice.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah. and on this album in particular, see, the thing is that the funny thing about the Who is that leading up to this record, this was their fifth, and it came out again in 1971. We talked about that year before. They were mods, and so the mod movement died right around the turn of the decade, and so the Who kind of found themselves in a tough spot. And Tommy came out, and they thought, like, we need to do something different because our mod kind of community is done, right? And so they focused more on heavy rock, and even like what is the tune? Love Ain't for Keeping. Yeah, Love Ain't for Keeping. That was a heavy. It's a ballad, but it was a heavier song. There's a hard rock version of that, but they were focused more on that and getting away from kind of the jangly Birds kind of 60s sound that they had, which is really interesting. It's kind of an interesting transition because like all the albums that preceded this are quite different from Who's Next.
And this is also too when Townsend started experimenting with the synthesizer, and obviously that's all over Bubba O'Reilly and Won't Get Fooled Again and quite a few others. But I loved how where they took these songs, because you had Love Ain't for Keeping that was like sort of a bit slower, but it had its pickups, and then Getting in Tune is sort of this like. You feel like it's also going to be a ballad. And then all of a sudden it's like, it picks up and just everything they do to like take you on these journeys, like through the music, and not a whole lot of like short songs, but
there's one that's 2 minutes, I think. And
that's Love Ain't for Keeping. And it's, but even like they knew what songs to make long.
Yes.
And they knew what songs not to. It just felt right. Like everything about these songs just felt right, and it never felt drawn out. It never felt like Won't Get Fooled Again, right, is like 8 minutes and 36 seconds, and the song is over is 6:20, but like a perfect 6:20. It's just I don't know. I can just gush about all these tunes, man. Because
let's go through them.
Yeah, I mean, so Bubba O'Reilly is great. I mean, it's always been great. I've loved this song and forever, and I don't think that'll ever change.
No, and great album opener.
Oh my
selection, right? So leaving the sequencing to Glyn Johns was like the thing to do, right? Because I think the sequencing on this record's almost perfect.
I know. I was like, what is Won't Get Fooled Again doing at the end? But
it's a cool, and we'll get to that one, but I'll tell you why I think it's a great closer when we get to it.
Okay.
And there's a specific reason why.
Yeah, and so Bubba O'Reilly named after what, a couple of people, I think?
2, right? Yeah. So Townsend's spiritual advisor, what was his name? Mayor Baba?
Something
Mahar
like
Baba or something.
Yeah.
And then the other guy was a composer, I think, like a classical composer, Riley something.
Or was it Timothy Riley or something Riley?
One of his names is Riley, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the song was called Teenage Wasteland. Well, it was a demo. And then I don't know if this is true or not, but I think that Townsend, the irony of the song is that, they make that reference to they're all wasted, right? And people glorified that. And Townsend hated that because that was not his intention. He first they played the Isle of Wight, which is like this island in the UK.
Big festival, right?
It was festival, yeah, like almost like a Woodstock. And he stayed back and he saw just the garbage strewn everywhere, and it was just like it was a teenage wasteland, But then the other thing he noted was that all the kids in the audience looked like they were on acid and they had brain damage, he said. Oh. And he said it wasn't a great look. And so when the song came out, people were like, yeah, we're wasted. And he was like, no, that's not what I'm talking about here. Like, it's not cool. You think it's cool, but it's not.
Well, what do you expect, Pete?
Well, of course. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so amazing tune.
Cool. Oh yeah. So amazing. Yeah. And also like just again, Daltrey's vocals and it's, even Townsend on vocals, like I didn't realize, he comes in, don't cry, like that's Townsend. Like I had no idea about that, right? Like I guess it sounds different, but never occurred to me. And like he wrote all these songs except My Wife. Did he write every Who song?
No, I don't think so. Daltrey was responsible for some of it.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but he wrote the majority of the songs.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Well, he definitely, I was looking at credits on here and he's credited for everything except My Wife. So, Bargain.
Love.
Yeah. And that actually starts off with a quote from Baba. I'd lose myself just to find you is actually like
that's right.
A line that is something, some sort of whatever kind of spiritual line or something.
Because the song is about God, right? The story for this one goes, I think that people think it's a love song. And he says, like, if I lost everything, but I had your attention or something like that, it would be a bargain, the best I ever had. And people thought, who is the woman he's singing about? But he was singing about his spiritual interests. And he was singing about God. And it was inspired by that Indian mystic that we talked about, Mahar Baba. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh yeah. No, it was totally a love song to me. Cool. Yeah. Great song, man. Like, again, also has, as you said, ebbs and flows that are like great synthesizer parts. And again, drumming, like just everything about these songs just hold your attention the whole way through. Like it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you say that about Keith Moon because, he's considered a very sloppy drummer in terms of like, staying in the measure. He's a very active drummer. Obviously, he's very flamboyant, but you either really love his playing or you're kind of like put off by it just because it's, like I said, it's a bit sloppy.
Love Ain't for Keeping.
Great. Great tune. And again, I know. Amazing. Right?
I love it. Yeah, it's just kind of a nice little change of pace. Yeah. After the first two, but still also has a great tempo to it.
Sequencing, perfect, right?
Perfect.
Yeah. Track 3.
And then My Wife is fun.
Entwistle apparently is not a guitar player, which is kind of odd. He's a bass player, but sometimes bass players more often can play guitar as well. I don't think he can. He wrote the song on the bass, but like he is one hell of a bass player. Like you said, he doesn't just play like the root note, right? Like he plays the lines. And so he wrote this song on the bass. And the reason why it doesn't have a guitar solo apparently is because he wasn't in favor of it and just didn't think about guitar solos. And so later on, they said, let's put something else in. And it was decided they would put in a horn section. They used to call him the Ox. That was his nickname.
Oh, wow. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, just because he was like this. He was just a monster.
Yeah.
You saw him play live, right? He was just like this, like.
Right.
Yeah.
It was funny to see that because like Moon, Daltrey, Townsend are all going like nuts on the stage. And he's just calm, cool, just
always. But his bass lines are just like he's just nonstop, right? And he's this very kind of, I don't know, he's like a polarizing figure. He's very interesting.
The song is over. Starts out so nice, like the great piano, nice changes. Townsend again, I think, right? Who starts singing on it, and then Daltrey comes in for. I sing my song to the wide open spaces.
That's right. That's what I like about this song is that, again, there's like, highs and lows.
It's so good. It is like, so good. Like you're like, oh, I'm ready to sit in for a nice song, And then all of a sudden you're kind of like, well, where's this going? But then they can just bring it right back.
Yes.
So seamlessly.
And that's very much a Who trademark, in my opinion, is just that elevation of drama, and Daltrey's right at the forefront of it.
It's just so cool, too, how they just work, like the two voices work together.
Getting in tune.
another one where you think it's going to be a nice piano ballad that like just again it's great, like getting in tune.
This song is about the duality, I think, between like Townsend was a very introspective character. He was always considering, like, he's a very spiritual guy, but he was always kind of contemplative, like self-contemplative, right? He was always thinking about like how he was being perceived and who he was and where he was going.
Did you say contemplative or contemplative?
I said contemplative. Did you want me to say contemplative? I can't even say that. Contemplative.
So you asked me what I said, contemplative, and you're like, do you say contemplative or contemplative? And it was threw you off your train of thought.
I wonder if people do, I wonder if people do say contemplative. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I guess technically you can say it that way.
That's what I said. I've said it in past episodes, and you called me. You're like,
you said it once.
Yeah, and you were like,
I called you on it right away. It just sounds odd, doesn't it? Contemplative.
Well, no, it's because like the original word is to contemplate. So I would say to contemplate would be to be contemplative. Doesn't matter.
English is tricky.
Can you define vacillate?
Have you not heard that word?
No,
Have you heard the word undulate?
Undulate. Yeah. I know like undulating and vacillating and oscillating. Like,
oh, there's one.
I know. Oscillating. Yeah.
It's like a phonics lesson today.
Can you get back on track? Do you remember what you were saying before I really interrupted you?
What was I saying? So getting in tune was Townsend and the duality that he felt between how he was perceived as a rock star, but also like the spirituality that he sought. And apparently the song is about that.
See, that's what we've talked about music being, obviously it's however you want to interpret it. And that's how I just took these songs. I just took these songs however I wanted to like feel with them. Like hearing Getting in Tune and Love Ain't for Keeping and Bargain, even Bubba O'Reilly, right? It's like, I love it because it just, you can get so lost in them and just like, I don't know, like I just got kind of like, because I know that's what music's supposed to do, but I wasn't really thinking of anything other than myself listening to these songs,
But that's good.
Yeah.
That's better than good. Like, that's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, that's what music should do for you.
Yeah.
Close the door, turn it up, and turn everything else off.
I can't wait to like listen to this album again. Going mobile.
How cool is that? Isn't it? Like, this is so great that you love it this much.
This is like, again, I can't believe I've never heard some of these songs, especially like Going Mobile is like, what a great song. Again, like I totally. said, what was the end of Ziggy Stardust, Rock and Roll Suicide, right? I was like, how we don't hear that around the campfire? You're like, well,
yeah,
do the math. But like Going Mobile, like how come I've never heard anybody play Going Mobile either. Like, there's some songs in here that I'm like, these would be great songs to play around.
No idea. Apparently Townsend owned a motorhome. And I think he bought it like a couple of years before the song came out. And it was about the fact that like he just liked he had this kind of lust for travel, and he just wrote this very kind of, it's almost goofy. It borders on like, being a goofy song. I'm going mobile, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's not serious at all. It's not contemplative or contemplative at all.
No, 100%. No, that's what I love about it. I love the guitar riff. It's just a lot of fun. 100%, a lot of fun.
And funny that Daltrey has nothing to do with this song.
Nothing.
Like no tambourine, no participation. He was just not around for this at all.
Yeah, Roger, we know it's fine. You know what? You want like
get the day off. Off you go.
Yeah. What a great group.
Yeah. Oh, and then
Is this the PS for you? Is it
what Behind Blue Eyes and then Won't Get Fooled Again, right?
Yeah.
Behind Blue Eyes. Like, what can you say about that song? Really?
I never knew it picked up like it did.
See, this is where Keith Moon really shines, right? Because the drums really carry the song up. So I love the beginning of it, but then like there's this huge like increase in energy, and it's buoyed by Moon's drumming. And there's a cool story behind this song, actually. Do you know how this song came together? So apparently the Who were playing, and the show was over, and Pete Townsend apparently was tempted by a groupie, and he resisted and went back to his hotel room. But he was like a man of faith, right? He's a very spiritual guy, and so he wasn't like the typical kind of rock star. And so he went to his hotel room and he started praying, and he wrote this prayer. And the breakdown, or the middle part of the song, is that prayer. So if I swallow anything evil, stick your finger down my throat. And it's like, if I do this, please do. He's praying.
Like, what are these guys? Well, like, like you think about the song where people do songwriting lessons and they got to learn from songwriters, and like, who are these guys learning from? Like, lyrically, poetically. To be
people like Eddie Cochran, and just there's a story that
Jack
goes
Kerouac. No, okay, never mind.
No. Just their forebears, right? So everybody who came before them. But I know that Cochran was a person who influenced Pete Townsend quite a lot.
Cool.
There's a song, or there's a story that goes One Direction had a song that sounded a lot like a Who song from this record. As a matter of fact, I think it was, I think it was Won't Get Fooled Again. I could be wrong about that.
Interesting.
It was one of the more popular ones.
Believe it or not, however, I don't listen to One Direction.
You don't? I thought you did.
I'll have to give them a listen then.
You liar, you do. You're a fan.
I have no idea. No idea about Harry Styles or, any.
I like Harry Styles, actually.
Oh, look at that. I adore you. That's cute.
So the story goes, I'll just tell it really quick. The story goes that One Direction recorded a song that was very similar to a very popular Who song. And everybody said to Pete Townsend, sue them because they're ripping you off. And he said, no. I think it's not a testament, it's a tribute to the Who, and I am touched because I did the same thing for my heroes, Eddie Cochran and everybody else. It's just he said that's the way it works.
That's cool.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Right?
I think so for sure as well. Like I've never seen like the video. I think there's like a video of like Robert Plant talking about how he feels about Greta Van Fleet. I don't know. Have you ever heard about how
that's actually really cool.
Is it? How does he feel about that? No, I don't know.
So he got asked a million times, obviously, right? Because Greta sounds exactly like Robert Plant.
Yeah.
So somebody said to Robert Plant, he said, so what do you think of this new band, Greta Van Fleet? And he leans forward and he says, I really like them, but there's something about the singer. He sounds just like this one guy. I can't put my finger on it. It sounds exactly, I don't know who it is. It sounds exactly like him.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that. I love that sentimentality, man. Like, just let them, let them reintroduce, right? Totally. You got to think about that. Like, none of these other kids, especially that are listening to One Direction, are likely ever going to be listening to the Who, So if you can have like some inspiration and influence of the Who in some of your music to impart on these kids.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Easy for me to say. It's not my music, but it should be
easy for people to say.
Yeah.
I fully believe in that idea.
Yeah.
You've done your bit, you've made your money. So enjoy the influence.
So tell me, why is Won't Get Fooled Again the best closer?
Oh my God. So for a great record like this, think about the climax of the song, right? So the song starts when you hear that little bit at the beginning and you just kind of get like the shivers, right? Like your skin vibrates. It's like, oh, yeah. It's like going on a roller coaster, like getting on that ride and you're just what's going to happen, Yeah. And the song's great. But then at the end the synthesizer, it's not too long. It's not too short. It's the perfect amount of time because you know what's coming and it's like, oh my God, right? It's so thrilling. But that scream, there's a little bit of magic in there, like it's this close to being magic. It's pure undistilled rock and roll.
Yeah.
Like it really is the way that it was meant to be. It's truly rock and roll defined. So
good.
But the coolest thing about the song is the last line. So that happens and it's like, oh my God, you want to have a cigarette. It's like, oh. And then Daltrey says, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And then it's like, off we go.
That's the last line.
It's a perfect way to end. You think things are going to change? They don't.
Yeah, it's good.
Sorry.
I don't know how much of them have been political, but I think this is their biggest political tune for especially coming out in 71, right? With everything that's going on, obviously, as we know in the world at this time. So yeah.
But such a prescient statement too, right? That has held true since 1971 and did before that. Like it's just, you think things are going to change. They're not going to. And you're left with that. Yep. And the album ends.
Yep.
That's why it's perfect.
Perfect album. I think. I don't believe there's anything wrong with it. I don't believe anything's out of place. And no. I don't believe there's anything wrong in any single song. So how are you gonna?
So it's a 5-star.
Yeah, this is a 5 out of 5. Like 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100.
Right.
Just fantastic. How are you gonna? What do you give it? What are you thinking?
Oh, it's a 5.
It's a 5.
It's gotta be. Absolutely. It's a perfect record. Yeah. It really is. It's a perfect rock record.
Yeah. So how are you gonna top it?
I want to do a Springsteen record. Can I ask for a little bit of time? Can I tell you that it's going to be Springsteen, but then can I tell you what the record is like later on?
Yeah. Give me more than a couple days, but yeah.
No, I'll let you know like tomorrow.
Okay. All right. I'm in.
Is that fair?
Totally, man.
I want to think about it.
Yeah, you got time. Folks, we're listening to Springsteen. We'll surprise you with the album.
Springsteen, the record to be determined.
TBD.
TBD.
Great, man. Well, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex.
You.
What a great news story this is, though, right?
Yeah.
So you had no idea about who's next, and then you listen to it, and now it's one of your favorite records.
Well, it's funny, right? It's like something you always talk about, like you hear about, right? It's funny. We didn't even talk about the album artwork. They were pissing on a monolith.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay, so we have to talk about that very briefly. Okay. So, a little bit of trivia there. Only one guy peed out of the 4 of them. So for those of you, well, the album shows on the thing here on the graphic. So have a look at the cover. There are 4 pee marks. And it would appear, based on what you see, that the men are walking away after having a whiz on the on that cement, whatever it is. And by the way, that was kind of a take on 2001: Space Odyssey. That monolith, that kind of thing that was there.
Okay,
that was the idea behind that.
Got it.
One of the members of the Who peed. Do you know who it was?
Townsend.
Yeah,
had to be.
Yep. The other 3 did not, and they used rainwater to replicate the whiz.
I don't know why it had to be Townsend. Obviously, it could have been. It was more than likely going to be Keith Moon, but for some reason, Townsend.
Well, he writes all the songs. Why doesn't he just do the peeing too?
Piss all over the place.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah, great album cover. Good, man. All right, well, we'll see you next week for
right.
the boss.
You bet.
All right.